Hello, friends. You ever have an idea that you just couldn't quite shake? I've had an idea that I can't shake. I've had it for a couple of years. When I got out of school, I was blown away by how ill-prepared I was for a lot of the sort of basic things about adult life. And I realized that there was just all this stuff that I had no clue about, that I had never even heard about in a classroom setting. To the degree I knew about it, it was really through watching the news or talking to my parents or other adults. You know, all the financial stuff. How do taxes work? How do bills work? How does a budget work? How does borrowing money work? All kinds of things. How do jobs work? How do, what's... on and on, right? And I have two young adult children now, and from talking to them, it seems to me that the situation has not really improved. So I want to do something about that. There are two movies that inspire this, or that inspire me when I'm thinking about this. The first is The Big Short. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. But one of the things that I think it does in ways that almost no other movie does is that it describes the way aspects of our financial system, and in this case I mean the United States financial system, how that system works. And it explains it in ways that I think most people can understand, which is great. Think about the 2008 financial crisis for a second, right? So what happened? There were basically a bunch of shitty mortgages that got aggregated into derivative instruments, CDOs and things like that, and they blew up, right? And they crashed, but they almost killed the world financial system. And I think if you're on the left or a progressive or a liberal or a Democrat, you have this tendency, or I have this tendency, to lay the blame for that at the feet of the corporations that were involved and maybe the government. And surely the corporations involved did not behave well. They behaved unethically, and I suspect they behaved illegally. And the government was either asleep at the wheel or stupid or both. But the thing that I think we don't talk about very much is that every single one of those mortgages that blew up and caused this crisis had a borrower's signature on it. A person, just like you or me. A lot of those mortgages might as well have read, "This is an atomic bomb. I'd like to buy this atomic bomb and drop it on myself and my neighbors," right? And that's fucked up. But the thing that's even more fucked up is that the math behind those mortgages is not that complicated. A reasonably numerate ninth grader can do the math behind a mortgage. It's not oscillation overthrusters. It's just simple math, right? But we don't teach that math in school, which is stunning to me. We do word problems about, Bob is in Poughkeepsie and he needs to go to Worcester and he's traveling at 75 miles an hour, and who gives a shit when Bob gets to Worcester? Honestly, who gives a shit? So we don't teach any of this practical knowledge. So that's one piece of it. That's one movie. The other movie is The Matrix. There's a scene at the beginning of The Matrix where Morpheus, who's kind of the Yoda figure, is talking to Neo, who's kind of the Luke Skywalker, he might be the one figure, about the Matrix. And Morpheus tells Neo that the Matrix is a system governed by rules, and that if you understand those rules, you can use them to your advantage. And you may be able to bend them in some cases. I'm not really that interested in bending them, but I'm very interested in my kids understanding them. And I think my kids need to understand lots of these rules that they just haven't been taught. So I want to do a little project to teach them, or at least to tell them what I think about those rules. So that's kind of the what. The how is interesting too. I have been interested in social media for a long time, and I'm very interested in video. And so this project will marry my interest in teaching my kids the rules that they will encounter as they become adults. It will marry that with social media and video and driving into the sun. Okay, so what does that mean practically? So it's going to be a YouTube channel, and I'm going to make YouTube videos, and I'm going to be very granular about it. So each video will drill into a particular question, and I'm going to try to keep them fairly short. So an example might be, does it ever make sense to not pay off my credit card immediately? That might be one question that I would answer in one video. Or what's another example? When's the right time to refinance my mortgage? Or can I afford to buy a house? Or can I afford to have a car? I can think of hundreds of these. Should I switch jobs? Should I move to a different city? Can I afford to live in a different city? Can I afford to do the job I want to do in the city in which I live now? But so each video will answer a specific question, and I may end up having to do, short series about, I don't know, the right way to use credit cards, or how to think about borrowing in general, or how to think about taxes during the year when you're earning money, or how to think about investing. Insurance, should I have a high deductible? Should I not have a high deductible? All these questions that, just never really get covered in high school or college for most people. So they're going to get covered in this YouTube series. Several questions may have occurred to you. The first is, why do this on YouTube? Why not just tell your kids? There are a couple of reasons for that. The first is that when the amount of time I get to spend with my kids is shrinking all the time, and I would really rather not spend that time lecturing them about how our financial system works. I would rather be having dinner and playing board games and driving around and singing. So I want to make this available to them so that we don't have to do it in real time when they're visiting. Second, I might get hit by a meteor and not be around to tell them this stuff later. The third thing is, there's a component of privilege here, right? As a cisgendered straight white male in the United States of America in the 21st century, I probably have more privilege than just about anybody's ever had. And I'm not going to talk about that in these videos because I don't want the videos to be political. But I'm cognizant of the fact that I've been very lucky. And I want to give something back. If it can help some people, I think that's super. I'm pretty sure I've reached peak attractiveness. There's definitely a component of just I like doing stuff like this. Some of you who are watching this might be familiar with Mr. Crunchy, which was what happened when I got interested in blogs, or Reverse Survivor, which is what happened when I got interested in reality television. So I'm interested in social media. I think social media in many ways makes everything worse, but anytime I have an opinion like that, I want to explore whether it also makes things better. And I'm probably more than a little arrogant. So then another question might be, what qualifies me to do this, or why should anyone listen? And the simplest answer I have to that is just that I love my kids, and I want them to be happy and healthy and safe. The perspectives that I offer, and they can evaluate for themselves whether they think it makes sense, will be in the spirit of the fact that I really want the best for them. That's what I'm putting in these videos. And everybody else was going to have to judge. They're going to have to judge for themselves whether what I say makes sense. And that doesn't make it any different from any other thing that you would watch on YouTube. So anyway, how can you help? First of all, if you have any ideas about this, I'd be happy to hear them. Because one thing I do really like about social media is that I just like the interactivity of it. I like the fact that you can engage with your audience, and it's kind of a partnership. You can really have a back and forth with the people that you're trying to reach. If you have ideas about what I'm saying, please tell me what they are. You can leave comments in this video. You can email me at chris@theawesomeroom.com. Oh, that's what I should say. It's called The Awesome Room. That's the name of the project. That's just what it's called. And the tagline is Pro Tips for Grown-Ups. So it's The Awesome Room, Pro Tips for Grown-Ups. Also, especially if you are a young adult and you have any thoughts about, specific questions or categories of questions that you would like to hear me blather about, let me know, because I'll blather about them. If you are a parent or a friend of young adults, or if you remember what it was like to be a young adult, and there are things that you wish you had figured out earlier, and you would like to maybe have me talk about in this series, I'd love to hear about it. That would be great. I'd really, really appreciate it. And I think it would make the product better. I'm going to do a batch of these for starters, and I'm going to start releasing them in January of 2018. So if you have ideas, I'd love to hear them now. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, you're a pal. That's a lot of talk. So thanks for listening to me, and I hope you'll enjoy this project. Bye.